Right, hello, good evening everybody, and welcome to round 3 of League of Europe Division 1. I am QVR Killer, back after a week's hiatus, and joining me for the first time this season. He was here last week, but the full-time D1 commentary pairing is finally together. It's Oxide Nova. How are you, sir?
I'm very good, thank you. I'm very good. We finally made it, just like you said. I had a few weeks away from each other, but the stars have finally aligned, so we're here. Can't wait.
And if last week's only had to go by, I'm reliably told it was a chaotic race. We'll quickly go through the standings before we reflect back on last week. So, why have I got the D2 standings open? That would not be particularly useful. But very vain of me to look at myself with my Australia win there. Montana leads the way with 25 points after his, what I could describe as a Hail Mary strategy last week, staying out on the dry tire scores. Justas in second. He won at Australia, 12 points behind. He's on 31. Sweet Crown's in third on 30, and then a little gap to Nathan on 20. Verstappen on 18, and then we've got a gaggle of cars from 6th to 9th, separated by 1 point. Gary and Cucumber on 13. Jules Breedman is out on 12. Pease rounds out the top 10 appropriately on 10 points. And is there anyone that stood out for you last week? Because it didn't look like, the little snippets I saw, that Montana didn't seem particularly quick, but it was that strategic edge that got him that victory.
Yeah, definitely. Montana, I mean, he said it himself. It wasn't his best race by any stretch of the imagination, but he was there. He was at the right moment, made the right decision, got him the win. So, yeah, I mean, if on a bad day he can still win the race, that's a bit worrying for the rest of the drivers. Let's see what they can do. But yeah, no, I must admit it was a good race. A lot of drivers were in contention for the victory. Of course, we saw NSX Connor as well go off on the first lap. He really was in contention for pole position, so I assume that'll be the same here as well today. But yes, of course, he had to drive back through the field, so that's someone I'll be definitely looking out for as well. Also, Matt too as well, of course, on his he had a one race break, of course, so he had some other commitments. But in Australia, he actually crashed, which meant he's still on 0 points, so he's going to want to be someone who gets off the mark today. But yeah, I think there's a lot of drivers really. I think who could be in contention, from Montana, Verstappen, of course, as always as well. Of course, Cucumber, good driver as well. Connor. There's a lot of drivers who I think could be in contention tonight.
And I've got a sneaky feeling, touching on the back of that it might be a wet race, because it took forever for anyone to trundle out the pit lane. And if you ever watched LOED1 before, Montana is literally 2 seconds, set loaded, straight out of the pits. And there was a good minute before we saw anyone trundle down the pit lane. So I'm thinking, wildly speculating, like my predecessor James Head, it might be a wet race. And if it is a wet race, perhaps that might shake up the competitive order a little further. But you are right that there's so many people in this division that I think can win races. Campbell, of course, is reigning champion. A bit of an off week last week. But Montana, Isat's looked quick so far this season. Cucumber's got pedigree in LOE. Alp, Justas, Sweet Crown, Verstappen. They all, any of them look like they could reasonably, on their day, win a race in LOE. So I'm very excited. We've got Jill Breams replying to me in Division 1 Discord channel. I want to know if we're getting a wet race, because it seems suspicious how long they were all in the pits there at the start.
They were in there for quite a while, it must be said. I was expecting, especially a few drivers, like say Montana, he's always out right at the start to come out there in the pit lane, but didn't want to do it. So yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, usually in a qualifying session here in Suzuka, we'd be expecting times of the low 26s and maybe high 29s in Division 1. If the times are a little bit slower than that, of course, we might see some drivers putting on a wet setup if the race is wet. So definitely something to be looking out for as we see the drivers start the laps.
We are, and I'm going to quickly just adjust my audio mix. I think you're going to be a little bit quiet for the listeners. There we go. And we're on board with Montana pelting through this never-ending succession of corners through turn 6, up in the hill towards turn 7. You want to stick to the left-hand side there, take a nice short run towards Declan 1 and 2. You want to just clip the inside curve here, a 31-0. That's nice from Montana. And then easy to go deep at Degner 2. Montana hooks it round nicely. The back end wanted to step out on him, though. And here, I like to really pinch the car off and stay nice and tight there. Some people like to go a little bit deeper and get a straight exit, but that was tidy from Montana. A good first sector. I think there's a little bit of time going to be in that Degner 2 with the rear end squirming away. Now Spoon curve, turns 13 and 14. He's got a teammate ahead of him ready to give him some slipstream. Montana dipping into fourth gear through the second part of Spoon, and this is perfectly done. Through the climb up the hill, this will gain him a tenth and a half. Maybe you're looking for a low 1 minute 10 through the mid sector split, and it's a 1 minute 9.9. This is going to be a cracking banker lap from Montana. Let's see how he approaches the last chicane of turns 16 and 17, cutting the first one as you should. Little bit greedy possibly with the second. Oh, and then couldn't get the power down quite out of the last corner through turn 18, but a 26.5. I think there's going to be more time in that. That didn't look a particularly good end to the lap for Montana. We've got Verstappen coming up to the end of the second sector now. I think there might be someone ahead of him, one of the Alfa Romeos possibly. Is that Cucumber? Is Justas? It's a 26.2. It's good for him. What can Cucumber do? He's on 9.9 through the middle sector as well, and he goes between him, Justas and Montana, with a 26.3.
I think these times are definitely going to be getting quicker and quicker. Like you said, some of the times there that came through, especially from Montana, not really the best of times. I mean, he lost a bit in the middle sector, like we saw at the edge of Degner too. So I think there's definitely more time in it. But already, Justas with a 26.2. We've got to see some 25s in this session, surely, as more of the drivers start to come across the line, get their first laps out. Still expecting 3 runs in this as well, especially if it is actually a wet race or there is a wet section of the race. No need to save any of those soft tyres, as we see Matt 2 as well on his return get a 27.9. That'll be a bit of a banker for himself, of course, much better than that. He starts his lap now going to turn 1, so hopefully he'll get a good time. But yeah, no, absolutely, I think these times definitely going to be tumbling, but 25 seem to be the way that it's going to be soon rather than later.
Yeah, Ghost, Falcon and Crico setting pretty tame opening laps in the Williams on the 27.6s. Sweet Crown's on a good lap. He's looking to challenge those first 2 rows of the grid so far through turn 18, as he have a much cleaner exit than Montana there. And I think this will put him ahead of the Swiss man. And he, oh no, just behind actually by a quarter of a tenth of a second there goes Sweet Crown P4. And who was that just crossing the line? That was Spine. Goes P6. Campbell is the one I want to have a look at. Very, very shoddy first lap. He's obviously made a mistake somewhere. He was doing 26.3s earlier and then getting on the grass on his in-lap. For Campbell, he's not a happy bunny on the first runs, as Itik Mohammed, that's formerly Ariel Slash, he's on a slow outlap. And you'll notice a lot of fuel burning, what it looks like fuel burning on the outlap. Drivers cranking up the brake bias and then burning as much as they can to generate, or braking as much as they can to generate some nice front tire time. Let's see what Connor can do across the line. You mentioned he was one to leave out for, and he goes provisional pole with a 26.207, and that was a well-earned wolf whistle, I think, from Connor, because that is a cracking lap, and both Alfa Romeos looking very tidy so far.
Absolutely. I mean, look at the times there as well. From first to third, a tenth of a second, but then also the rest of the field. What, top 10? What, half a second or so? It's going to be such an exciting end to qualifying. I love this in Division 1 every single week. Doesn't matter what, last runs are always going to be crucial, because no matter what, you could go from last to first in one lap. But yeah, every single driver seems to be on the money at the moment. Obviously got a few drivers towards the back who haven't set a real representative time yet, like you said, of course, Campbell as well in the Mercedes, so more to see from him, and of course the rest of the guys. But Marty as well setting a time on the medium tyres, so maybe he's just making sure his wheels are all calibrated. Of course, we do see some drivers do that occasionally. But absolutely, I think the times are just going to be tumbling soon. Let's see what Mohammed can do as well when he gets out and does a representative time as well as P's. But yeah, Connor at the moment in the Alfa Romeo, and Cucumber as well, they're doing the Italian brand proud there, it must be said, in first and third. I'm sure Justas in the Montana has something to say about that, but Justas really is someone for me who, as he comes out the pits now, actually, you know, he was basically controlling the race last week out. You know, he was taking his time getting towards the front, and then the strategy just went all wrong for him, and because of that, he lost out to Montana. He's surely going to be his main championship rival, so Justas is going to be the man who wants to get a bit of revenge this week in that Alpine, but I'm sure we'll see sooner rather than later what he can do in quali.
You have to say, so far this season, I think Montana's not just been challenged by Justas, he's been bettered by him on raw pace alone, which is an unfamiliar position for Montana. He's won, 5 LOE titles? He's been unchallenged for most of them. The closest he came was he had about half a season against M. Shaw in, I think, season 5. But for the most part, Montana takes his titles at a leisurely pace. He's not going to have it that way this time around. I think he's going to have to do a Fernando Alonso 2012 job here and claw his way through when he hasn't got the ultimate pace. He needs to win on smarts. There's no games he can play with. You know, we saw last season him and Connor just trading places on DRS. He needs to be a little more aggressive this season as Montana. He's going to have his elbows out to win the title, which is something I said we've not often said of him. But here he is starting his second lap, and he's going to be the first one to set his second lap. So let's ride on board once again with LOE's greatest ever driver. There's a nice Mercedes just getting out of the, Red Bull getting out of the way into turn 1 there. Montana stays nice and tight through 2 and then flicks the car aggressively into 3, 4, using the curbs as well. Staying in 5th gear, maxing the car out on the rev limiter. Shows what I know, because I would have gone through 6 through there. That looked nice through turn 8 and then 6, sorry. And then through 7, and what's it going to be? Is he going to dip into the 30s in Sector 1? It is a 30.9, he's a tenth and a half up Montana, and much tidier as well through Degner 2. That's where his big loss was the first time round. Let's have another look again at the hairpin. If he approach he takes not deep, he uses a little more curb this time than last time. That might even lose him a hundredth or two. But again, what do I know? I'm only a lowly D2 driver. And then on the run to Spoon, stay to the right hand side. You don't want to go too far to the right, because you will pick up some marbles that might just compromise the way you flick the car into Spoon here for the first part. And then it's a never-ending corner. You've got to pick up the second apex and use some of the curb on the exit. And again, another perfect slipstream for Montana from his teammate Spine FL. Both Aston Martins, both NSX, both Swiss drivers as well. He gets out of the way into 130R. Montana kisses the curb on the inside there, and he'll look to open up the last chicane as much as he can. 16 arrives at you very quickly. Easy to go deep there. Then 17, and then 18. He didn't have the best exit last time round. A little tidier this time. This is going to be a 26-1 for Montana. And Justas behind him has gone invalid on his second run.
Oh, that's big. That is absolutely huge. Montana obviously doing what he needs to do right at that moment. And let's not forget as well, Justas, he doesn't have the luxury of having that teammate helping him out in the sister Alpine car, because they're not here this week. So he's got himself no slipstream, no nothing. He's invalidated. He's having to push harder than everybody else to make sure he can get as much speed out of that car as possible. And like you say, invalidated. And that's going to be crucial for this qualifying session, because he's only got one more lap to do it now. He's going to jump into the pit lane. Surely, yes, he does. We've also got Cucumber as well going really slow on the track. I don't think he had a spin or anything. I think he's just getting out of the way of drivers. But as we see, Connor go across the line as well. Can't quite get the lap that he wanted to. Actually, no, sorry, tell a lie. Connor is actually just starting his lap now. So let's actually ride on board with Connor. Actually, go towards turn 1 now. Let's see what he can do compared to Montana. Of course, the two drivers who are 1 and 2 at the moment, both in NSX. Connor takes a slightly different line to Montana, uses a lot more curb on the inside there. Let's see if he can still get the first sector like Montana did. Breaks down towards 5th gear there and doesn't really max out like Montana did. You see some of the drivers switching positions there as well. Let's see what sector time Connor can do going through sector 1 now. Is he up? Yes, he is actually, a 30.8. That's actually up on what Montana did. Gets a grassy bit of wheelage there as he goes through, but he actually kept it together. Let's see now. Hairpin left. It's one of the hardest corners on the track. Breaks it down, but he's actually invalidated, I believe, as well, actually. Has Connor actually, so that's not going to be something he's want to do. But with that said, now Montana 26.1, he's the man to beat, because everyone else seems to be invalidating around him.
Yeah, I think someone's just improved. I think it was actually. Let's have a look at Sweet Crown. Sweet Crown's up by a tenth and a half. He's in the 1 minute 9s through the second intermediate split and staying to the far right to get to the line at 26.4. It improves by a tenth. Doesn't find any positionage in the pecking order, though. I think Spine was the one who improved. I just saw shoot up. Cucumber's up by 800 a second. He's done a 30.9 in Sector 1 as well. So let's look at the other Alfa Romeo instead. He's managed to avoid invalidating, unlike his teammate, through Degner 2. And he's just got Spoon and the Casio Triangle. I said I wasn't going to use corner names, but it's just easier, isn't it? To navigate here. Yellow flag there, possibly distract him a little bit. Just a little bit of twitching, micro corrections through the second part of Spoon. Up the hill he'll go, and this is going to be in the 9s through the middle sector split. No, it's not. It's a 10.0. He's lost time, so that Spoon curve wasn't doing him any favours. Alps improving, though. Alps up by nearly a tenth and a half. He's coming to the line now, and does a 26.2. Goes to P3, only 1,000 shy of Connor. And the top
just out the final
4.
corner as well, almost lost it. Sorry to go over there, mate.
No bother.
But almost lost it out the final corner. Went right into the pit lane. He actually almost crashed into the pit lane barrier. That wouldn't have been what he wanted to see. But yeah, out up into P3. Great lap time from him. Only what is it? 8 thousandths per second actually off P2. It's closer than ever.
It is. Let's have a look at what the gap is. It's 22,000 between our top 3, and a tenth and a half between our top 5, and even a quarter of a second between our top 7. It's the top 7 and everybody else today. We've got 2 classes of drivers out on track. As I think Sweet Crown has run out of fuel. He has. I was wondering why he was going so slowly. So he's going to go down to the third and final runs then, and you've got to say any of those top 5, at least, maybe even the top 6, top 7, are in with a shout or a sniff of pole position. And it would be quintessential Montana to feel so threatened and then ultimately just pull out a 25-8 out the bag or something like that. I'm still thinking Justas is the one to watch. That first sector was absolutely mega on that second run before you went invalid at turn 9. So he's the one I want to keep an eye on. But they're all going to come out in unison, I think. And when the times go for those last runs, they're going to come in very, very, very quickly indeed. As Izat's gone out of sync with everyone else, he's starting his lap nice and early, getting a nice clear track.
Absolutely. I mean, I think one thing that obviously we can't forget as well, Montana, with him being P1 at the moment, 26.1. That's an incredible time anyway, but with that said, because he is in P1, he can kind of go hell for leather now. He can kind of throw it all at the wall. People like Justas, like you say, yeah, got a lot of pace, but he's got pressure on him now. If he screws his lap or invalidates, he's only going to get P4 and P4 at best. So let's see what he can do. But yeah, it's a Kush as well, like you said, he's kind of going away from everyone else. 3/10 up on his time at the moment, and he's looking like he's going to do very well in this lap at the moment as we go towards the hairpin now. But absolutely, like we said, Montana, who comes out of the pits first, like he does usually in LOE, he's not got any pressure on his shoulders right now, but the drivers behind him, Connor, Alp, Justas, Cucumber, Spine and Sweet Crown, they definitely do, because they need these laps. Montana doesn't.
Yeah, I think every lap you mess up or you don't quite nail just adds the pressure, as you say, to each lap that comes after it. And if you're in like Marty's position or Matt's position or P's or even Campbell, where you know you've not hooked up that lap yet, it just makes the last one so much more tetchy and nervy and a little bit angsty as well. Izat, though, on a cracking lap, still only 3/10 up, didn't improve too much with the middle sector, but his first sector was absolutely mega in compared to what he's already got on the board. Where's this going to take him? It's going to be a 26.7, only gains him a couple of places. He lost nearly 2/10 in the last sector there, so made a pig's ear of the last chicane. And Montana, has he already started his lap? Is he on his lap?
Indeed, I believe
he is on his lap.
1/10 of a second at the moment, so this is going to be some crucial corners for him. He could actually get a 25.
And he's up by 800 through the middle sector, a 9.7 on a different planet in Montana. But you got to say, there is a caveat here. Montana's getting slipstream. Justas isn't. So anything that, if Justas can beat Montana, that makes it all the more impressive. And this looks his cleanest run through the chicane so far at 26.1. Only improves by 400 in the end, but he's got a half a tenth banker over everyone else in this field. His Spine's going to be the first after Montana to start his final lap, and he's going to get slipstream from his teammate as well, probably. Slash starting as well. Mohammed, that is, in P8 right now. Let's have a look at Spine, because he's our highest member of the grid who's on a lap so far. We're still waiting for those Alfa Romeos coming through the last chicane now to start their final flights. Let's see what Spine can do through the first sector here. It looked tidy, looked aggressive, it looked racy from the Swiss. Is he in the 30s? No, he's not. 31.05. He's 7 thousandths down. He's got the 007 on the board there, but that looked really tidy through Degna 2. You want to be slow in, fast out there. Get the car turning nice and early. Pick up the throttle as early as you possibly can as well. And you gain so much on the exit. Let's have a look further ahead. Cucumber is not quite the first sector split. We'll keep an eye on those Alfa Romeos. They're both going to come through imminently. So let's see what Connor does. Connor's done a 30.8. He's up by 900ths of a second. What about Cucumber coming through now? Has he done a 30.977? He's up by 900 a second as well. And Spine ahead of them has invalidated. So Spine's not going to be making any improvement here. That opens the door for Sweet Crown, who's also coming through the first sector now. They are pretty much in a train right now. Although Sweet Crown, he's down by 600. It's going to be the two Alfa Romeos, it looks like. Although Connor's invalidated now. They're all bottling their laps.
It's just not going well for the Alfa Romeo, and Montana doesn't want any more of this. He's doing like, oh, is he actually? NSX Cucumber, like you say, he goes really wide there. Might be able to get that slipstream back from his teammate, but that is not the line he wants to take through there. Surely he's lost all his time. We'll see when this split comes up. He gets a nice slipstream from his teammate, very helpful there. But he's down by almost 0.2 of a second. This has not been the lap that Cucumber wanted, and like we said, both Alfa Romeos, they didn't have the laps in the bag, and that's caused massive issues for them. Alp at the moment as well, he's actually up on his time. Purple first sector for Alp, and that's going to be massive for him if he can keep the lap together. But the two Alfa Romeos can't improve. Let's see what Justas is doing. He's up on his time at 30.9 in the first sector as well. But these times are going to be tumbling, and Montana has already done his lap. And it looks like at the moment he's going to be the one on pole position.
Let's see what Sweet Crown can do. He's coming around the final corner now, and it is an improvement by 400s. He nabs P6 off NSX spine. Let's see what Alp can do through the middle sector now. It's going to be him and Justas. It's all on those two for pole position here. Alp crossing the middle sector at 9.7. He's up by a quarter of a second. Justas at 9.6. These are ridiculous times from these two. They've just got to navigate this last chicane, and they're locking out the front row here at Suzuka. Alp, round turn 18, across the line. It's a 26-1, 9 thousandths of a second. What can Justas do? He beats him by 800ths of a second. It's pole for Justas. Alp takes P2. Montana relegated to row 2. But what a cracking qualifying that session was. If that made any sense. Justas on pole, Alp second, Montana third, Connor fourth, Cucumber fifth. It's NSX Party from third to fifth. Then it's Sweet Crown in sixth, Spine in seventh, Campbell improved to eighth in the end. Mohammed takes P9, Jewelbream 10th, P's 11th, Verstappen 12th. He'll be disappointed with that, I'm sure. Crico 13th, is at 14th. Then goes Falcon, Rocco, Matt 240 in 17th, and Marty on the back row, 27-2. The only man not making it into the 26s is Matt. Narrowly managed it with the 26.999. But what's your takeaway from that session? That was absolutely breathless from start to finish for me.
I mean, yeah, again, obviously the Aston Martins, doing everything they need to, Spine and of course Montana, to get the slipstream, to get everything they need to do right. But just once again, Justas, incredibly, once more, just gets the lap when he needs to. He just seems the man who's on the mission at the moment in this championship. Yes, he's a little bit unlucky, but the rain is falling like we thought it would be, so it's going to be a very, very wet race. Also very, very hard to overtake in this, but even harder to keep it on the track. So this is going to be very interesting to see. But Justas, like we say, incredible lap as always from him, as we've seen in the first 3 races. So let's see what he can do. He wants revenge for last week in China. Well, let's see if Montana can bring it back and get another victory this season as well.
I feel like after last week, rain is the last thing Justas wants to see. Probably giving him nightmares. He's had nightmares, apparitions all week of rain at Japan, and here we go. He's got pole position, but he's got a wet race, which is probably something he's not particularly keen on. He'd like a nice, boring, dry race, no safety cars, because I think he'll secretly be quite confident he is quicker than those behind him. It certainly looked that way so far this season. Looks like intermediate conditions. We'll see if it's going to dry up. I hope it does, or I hope it gets heavy. I hope we have some kind of change of weather. It's going to be wet conditions all the way through. That would be a bit of a bummer, because I don't think we'll get too much overtaking. Maybe we'll do what James Head and Montana, I think it was, or V8 field at Zandvoort, and start playing Hangman in the comments section if it gets too dull. But we have got formation lap this week, which makes a nice change. And I think it is going to be intermediate tyres all around. And there we are. Which means I don't have to have that ugly tyre graphic on the screen a second longer, because I hate it. Clusters up our lovely, pretty view of all these lovely Formula One cars. Who's your tip for the race then?
Well, it must be said, Justas, of course, always on the money. So it'd surely be a fool to bet against him, but anything can happen in the rain. The thing for me is, if it gets wetter and continually gets wetter and goes towards full wet conditions, then who knows what could happen. We could get a red flag, could be possible, you never know. But if it goes to dry, which would be what I'm thinking it is, because it seems to be that all the drivers went for dry setups, which would suggest in the race it is going to go from inters to dry, then Justas for me just seems the man who just can't be beaten. But it very much depends on, of course, the starts that they get. Alp as well, getting P2, very, very narrowly missed out on pole position in that McLaren. It's going to be an incredible race to see what he can do. And of course, you can't forget about Montana as well. So realistically, anyone in the top 6, maybe even top 8, I could say, could have a chance of winning this race. But if I had to pick, if I had to put my house on it, Justas for me.
I'm not a betting man, but also if I had to put my house on it, I would also go for Justas. So there's 2 houses riding on Justas's performance today. Hopefully he can keep us in pocket. But Alp looks he's looked very solid. 3 strong laps in qualifying. Montana's thereabouts as well. Connor and Cucumber I'm less convinced by. They've had invalidations. Connor's been prone to mistakes. Cucumber doesn't look like he's got quite the same drive that he had in the second half of last season in that title fight with Campbell. I'm not convinced by really the 4th, 5th downwards, really, in terms of fighting for the win, but I think we're going to see a 3-way fight. And I'd love it if we do get a 3-way fight. I don't want Justas having it all his own way. because that is boring. So, 27 laps ahead of us. Let's hope it dries up at some point, or gets worse at some point, or something happens at some point, because the rain in league racing just gives me so much anxiety that it's going to be tedious in boredom. But I'll be delighted to share it in your company.
The Alfa Romeo spins on the grid. Sorry to go crush there. Is that Connor? I think Connor actually spun on the way to the grid. Yes, he did.
I think that was a tactical spin for temperature. I think that was a tactical temperature spin.
And, right. Yeah, like I say, nerves are going up now. Let's see who gets the best start.
Right, we've got a couple of disqualifications. Let's hope they're not disqualified from the race and we don't need a restart, because that would be horrific. So, it's round 3 of the LOE season. It's Justas on pole. It's Alp alongside him. Montana and the Alfa Romeos tucked in behind. We're at Japan. We've got 5 lights, and we're underway, and it's a jump start for QVR Verstappen. A horrific start for him, but a nice, tidy start for QVR Alp, who surges into the lead towards turn 1. Montana's going to try to go around the outside. They're 3 abreast, and absolutely pinched on this inside there is Justas, and Montana could end up losing out to Connor here. He'd get boxed in towards turn 3 and they sneak through. And Connor, can he hold on to this P3? Montana forces up the inside as they come into turn 5. They're still dicing away there, the 2 NSX collies, as they come through 6 and up the hill towards 7. And Montana, can he hold this through? Just about, but he squeezes Connor to the extremities of the track there at the exit of the Dunlop curb. And look behind them, side by side, briefly there, I thought Spine was having a look at Sweet Crown instead. I think it was Campbell on the track. And he goes wide to Spine exit Degner 2, and they all snake through past him. 1, 2, 3 cars there. Campbell through, Mohammed through, Jawbream through. Little contact in the background, and one of the Williams careers into the side of Marty there. And Spine's had a mare as well. Once again, he's lost another handful of places, and now he's in direct competition with Izzat there. I just saw a place change up ahead. Look at this between Cucumber and Sweet Crown. Sweet Crown goes off the track at Spoon, and Cucumber's going to hold on to that. But then the Sweet Crown tucks underneath him, and it's a drag race towards up the hill towards 130R, and Sweet Crown is through. And further back, we saw Rocco and Pease now trading places down straight. And look at Marty, sorry, it's not Campbell, it's Marty nipping through in there. Pease losing a couple of places now. Some of these drivers having blistering up laps. The others are having an absolute horror show. As Spine, who's one of those with a horror show, gets squeezed off the track there at the Casio Triangle, and then has to just avoid colliding with Izzat. Into the pits comes Pease with some wing damage. And look at Matt 240 in this as well. They're nearly 3 wide coming down the main straight.
Oh my god, this is going to end up in disaster if they don't get out of the way of each other there. Thankfully they do, but absolutely, like you were saying before, some of the drivers have incredible starts. QVR out being one of them. Justas as well, already under pressure from NSX Montana. So maybe Montana had a bit more of a wet setup. Campbell as well, like you're saying as well, trying to go down the inside there, which quickly turns to the outside. Might not be able to get it through there. Side by side still, they're going towards the Dunlop curve. Can he make it? What a move from QVR. Campbell pushes the Alfa Romeo slightly off. Great move himself. And he almost loses it. Keeps it on the track. Great save from Cucumber. But like you say, Campbell with an incredible move. One of the men as well, Marty, in the other Mercedes, 7 places gained already, and NSX Spine losing 8 from the start.
What an opening lap we've had here. The time in town, left hand side, is an absolute shambles. I've got no idea what the gaps are. Does it work on leader? No, of course it doesn't. It's Codemasters. But it's Alp that leads from Justas by the thick end of a second. Montana's in closer company to the back of the Alpine. Then it's Connor, pursued by the Red Bull of Sweet Crown into Spoon Curve. They're a little further back. Then there's a gap to Campbell in P6. Then it's Mohammed. A Sweet Crown gets past Connor. Did Connor make a mistake there in Spoon? He must have done, but Connor's tucked immediately into the slipstream of the Red Bull. He's using his overtake up the hill, and this is going to be hold your breath and pray moment. He goes around the outside of 130R in the wet. Can he pull this off? Can Connor? Oh, Sweet Crown was giving with the space. Connor goes high and wide off the track. Campbell's now going to try to sneak around the outside of turn 16. He'll tuck underneath, then around the outside, then he'll tuck underneath again. They're both squirm to get the traction down. I think it's going to be as you were. Connor holds off from Campbell. Behind them, Mohammed and Jawbream are fighting away as well on the exit of turn 18. The field's already so spread out. Look at Campbell now. He's going to try around the outside into turn 1 of NSX Connor. Nothing going there. He has a sneaky look if anything's going at the inside of turn 2. Still nothing. But what a breathless couple of opening laps we've had here. Absolutely bonkers. And it's exceeded all expectation, I have to say. We'll settle down into a bit of a pattern now as the train sorts itself out. Let's have a look at those gainers and losers. The big gainer is Rocco and Marty in the midfield. They're up 6, up 7, respectively. Spine lost 8 Ps, down 7 from P11 on the grid. And Jawbream And who is that? That's Jewelbury and Mohammed. Look very close together right now. Falcon picks up the first penalty day, and there's a Williams round. That is Falcon. Penalty and a spin for his trebles.
I mean, that's not what he wanted, is it? I assume he went wide at Degner 1, of course. That put him on the curb and then shot him straight into the gravel trap. At the moment, at the front, like we say, Alp as well. Justas has finally found his feet, really, and starting to push against him now. Only 3/10 behind.
Oh, Campbell! Campbell careers into the back of Connor.
Oh, and it could be contact. No, thankfully the ghost, like you say, they goes through. But yeah, into the back of Connor, and that's not what he wanted to say in the Mercedes. An incredible start from Campbell, but now he's down to P14. Some of the racing's been absolutely fabulous so far. That wasn't one of the best moves we've seen so far. But at the moment, the top three pulling away. But like you say, Campbell got an electric start in that Mercedes, now down to P14.
He had an absolutely brain-dead moment. He just drove clean into the back of Connor. Seemed surprised that Connor slowed down for the corner. I'm sure he'll completely disagree with me.
That's on the back of Alp.
But yes, let's have a look at that's round out. We've got a yellow flag. That's for one of the Williams again. It's Crico this time. They're side by side into turn 2. Alp just about hangs on, but look at Justas round the outside. He switches to the inside for turn 3. Who's braver? Who's got the bigger bollocks here in Japan? Oh, and then contact, and Alp and Montana collect each other. Alp goes round, and Alp tried to hang out with Justas. He got pinched back into Montana, and then just contact model and Inshallah, and the McLaren plummets down to P13, P14 here at Suzuka, and we're back to Justas v Montana. That was madness all round. I don't think it was anyone's fault. It was just a bit of a misunderstanding, if anything, but that was awful, awful for Alp, who looked like he had a real chance of winning this race. Our early leader down to P14 there.
Absolutely, I think you're absolutely right. I was riding on board with Montana when that happened. It didn't seem like he did anything too wrong, to be fair. I think, like you say, a bit of contact model, and they came side by side and they just kind of merged into one. But like you say, Justas and Montana now first and second, the championship contenders early on in the season. Let's see if they can give us a good race. Justas seemed to have more pace than Montana early on, but of course now we'll really see what they can do as both of them start to pull away from the field. Sweet Crown in P3 as well, running a bit of a race of his own at the moment, and the car's just filling in behind. But yeah, Alp as well, he's going to be really disappointed with that. A really tough pill to swallow. He got the lead early on, and unfortunately these things can happen in sim racing, and he is down in P14, even behind his teammate now in P11 of Matsu, who is actually side by side with Spine going to 130R. Spine gets an incredible move down the inside there. Thankfully no contact between the two of them, but like I say, Justas and Montana now first and second and looking to pull away from the field.
He's doing a reasonable job, Spine, of recovering from that first lap. He's now down 4 places. Oh, and Campbell Marty, the other Mercedes who had a bear now, hitting the ball out at turn 18 on the inside there. Probably got some wing damage for that as well. And he's got a whole lap before he can get to the pit. And he joins Crico, Verstappen, Pease, Falcon. As drivers who've had a horror show so far. As Izat passes Rocco. I think Rocco made a mistake in the S's somewhere. Izat slips through. He's up 6 places. He's now the one who's on a charge in this field. Ahead of them, Cucumber, Jewelbury, Mohammed have been in close company for a while now. Behind Connor, those four kind of running their own race a little bit. Sweet Crown is having the loneliest day so far. He's 1.5 seconds off the back of Montana, 2.5 clear of Connor. And it did look like Montana last lap was trying to have a go at Justas into the last chicane, because he was using his ERS all the way up the straight. I mean, you can use it a little more in the rain than you can in the dry. You get it back easier. He's on 25%, 50% or so for Justas. And I think these two will just be towing each other along for a little while. Yeah, I don't think Sweet Crown necessarily has the pace to compete with them. Where are our battles on track right now, then? I think it is that little Connor train that's forming. Goes back and picks up his second penalty of the day. I think, actually, no, it's not Connor at all. It's Mohammed and Jewelbury, as they both go a little bit wide, wandering off track there at the exit of Spoon Part 2. And look at Jewelbury now. He's got a good run here on the Ferrari towards the last chicane.
Absolutely. One thing I will say as well is Jewelbury, like you say, on the run in the back of the Ferrari, really trying to get a move down the inside, doesn't seem to be doing so at the moment. Cucumber behind as well was right on the back of Jewelbury and going in towards the hairpin, but he actually lost the rear end and lost a bit of time. He'll be right on the back of them surely when he can get back on top of things. But yeah, absolutely, like you say, at the moment, Jewelbury on the back of the Ferrari, maybe ready to make a move down the inside here. Can he actually get the straight line speed to do so? It doesn't seem like he can, and he's going to stick it behind going in towards turn 1 and turn 2. But at the moment, like you say, Justas Montana out at the front looking to pull through. And one thing I will say, Connor as well, he's really kind of slowed down at the moment, really pulled into the back of the Ferrari of Mohammed and Jewelbury. I don't know if there's anything wrong with his car at the moment, but it just doesn't seem like he's got the pace.
Yeah, I think he may well have some damage, because he's lost a second or so to Sweet Crown in about a lap, and it doesn't seem like Mohammed or Jewelbury are too many pains to stay with him right now. Cucumber can be included in that as well. I mean, Connor's quick, but I'm surprised he's just... Oh, and there, a poor exit for Mohammed. Out of Degner too. That's going to give Jewelbream a sniff towards the hairpin, but he can't. Straight's not long enough for him to make that lunge, and he'll just try and get a cleaner exit out of the hairpin. Maybe a run towards Spoon if he can drag Mohammed back from Connor's slipstream. There might be a slight opening there for the Haas, and you can see he's gaining on the slipstream, but he's not wanting to use his ERS too much down that straight. He'll save it all, as in fact Mohammed goes very deep into Spoon part 1, and Gilbream's going to have to finesse and squeeze his way through there, either needle style, to avoid the curb, and that's going to invite Cucumber onto the back of the Ferrari as well, as they drag each other up the hill now, and almost contact there, a bit like Campbell on the back of Connor, is just the overspeed that the Alfa Romeo had. And is there going to be any lunges here into the last chicane? Absolutely not, but keeping it clean, but a couple of places traded there, and I'm sure Mohammed will be looking to try and get past Sharpish. And Connor, that lap, he definitely got damage. I agree with you. I think he's lost another 7 tenths on this lap to Sweet Crown. Well, I'll say that, Sweet Crown, look at that. He's pulled himself to within 8 tenths of a second of Montana.
Absolutely, like I was just about to say, Sweet Crown really pulling himself into this fight for the victory. The Alpine, the Aston Martin and the Red Bull fighting out for the victory now. Justas as well, let's not forget, he was sandwiched at turn 1, potentially some damage, but from what we've seen at the moment, he seems to have all the pace in the world, so it doesn't look like he's got any damage. But yeah, definitely, I think Connor has some sort of damage at the moment, but some great racing between Yulbury, Mohammed, and of course Cucumber as well. He's going to be getting absolutely mad staring at the back of that Ferrari. He wants to get through, he knows he's the quicker driver, but he can't quite get through at the moment because the rain is just too heavy, no DRS, and it's just going to be such a struggle with the short straights that we have here at Suzuka.
Yeah, Cucumber looks the quickest of this lot, I think, but yeah, with no overtaking opportunities, there's not too much you can do about it. And it looked like, oh, and deep into the hairpin there goes Jewelbream. Had a bit of rear locking, the back stepped out for him, and he was so slow getting on the power. And now it's a drag race between Mohammed and Cucumber towards Spoon Curve. We've got a yellow flag in the background. One of the Williams, that's Crico, has gone again. And is Cucumber going to force his way up the inside? No, he's not. But again, Mohammed goes deep, and through goes Cucumber into P6, their second pass Spoon. Look, Izzat's now joining the party at the back of this train. And we've got a new protagonist in this fight for P6. And here comes Izzat. He's using everything up the hill. He's going to go up the inside to 130R. That's a ballsy move. He can pull it off. And Mohammed tries to hang it out. Almost contact. He concedes the place, but fabulous racing once again. And after those first couple of laps, we've got some really good competition going on, as Izzat went so deep into the first part of the chicane. Mohammed could do nothing about it, though. And it's as you were. Izzat 7th, Mohammed 8th. And even now, Rocco's coming into play here. I think Connor is very much a bit of a stopgap here. He's got a second over Jewelbream because of the Dyson and battling on the last lap. But it certainly seems the way that more and more people are dragging their way into this fight. Rocco now, too.
Seems to be driving his own circuit towards Spoon. He just will keep going wide every single lap. Not sure what's going on there with him. Just can't quite get the car to turn in. Potentially a bit of a setup issue there. But yeah, Connor got a bit of a break there in the last few laps, of course, with the drivers battling so much. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Top 3 in a world of their own. Sweet Crown slightly dropping away now from the race leader because Montana is right on the back of Justas now. Don't think he can get a move going into this hairpin. That would be too much of a late deep dive down the inside. But Justas at the moment pulling Montana with him. Sweet Crown is there or thereabouts. So if anything tasty starts to happen between the front two, of course, he's going to be there to pick up the pieces. But yeah, some great racing so far from, of course, Yulbury and Cucumber and Connor as well, who's got, not Connor as well, it's a Kush as well, who's got through on the inside of Mohammed in that Ferrari. Let's see, for Mohammed's sake, let's hope he can get through Spoon okay this time. But yeah, great racing so far. Let's see, because it looks to me like the rain is slowly but surely stopping.
I had that thought a minute ago, and then I thought, no, I'm being stupid. I won't say that. But yeah, I do agree with you. It looks lighter, but I wasn't sure if it was just my imagination or my wish that the rain does get lighter. Sweet Crown's just slipped a little further back from Montana. The gap's now 1.3 seconds, so I think Montana made a little mistake because Montana himself had fallen back from Justas. So I think that was what brought Sweet Crown into play, as Montana within 0.2 of a second as they come into turn 1. But he knows there's nothing he can really do about Justas, probably until we get some dry running and some DRS. As we've got Rocco up the inside of Mohammed to turn 1. Rocco goes deep, though. He's over the curb. It's now going to be side by side into 2 towards 3. Rocco's got the inside line. Mohammed is wise to concede the place there. And that train just spreading itself out a little bit. Jewelbream's dropped off from Connor, so this is no longer a Connor train. And Connor, in fact, is starting to reel in Sweet Crown. So I'm not sure this is really a train at all in the sense that anyone's really the cork in the bottle. They're just very similar on pace. And Connor's found some confidence. He's now drilling in some better lap times, and he's taken a second or so out of Sweet Crown since we last checked it. The gap down to 4.0. Briefly, it was around 3.8. And, there's a cucumber nearly sails into the back of the Haas there of Jewelbury, but keeps his front wing tidy for another lap at least. And further behind, Spine and Campbell, after their shambolic few laps earlier on, are now back in the fight for some points, or for some decent points as well.
Absolutely. Rocco up to P8 at the moment as well. It's actually 8 positions gained from his starting position, so a great race so far from the Red Bull driver. But like you say, QBR Campbell and of course Spine starting to push it through as well. Alp now back up into P12 as well after having that early spin, of course, with Montana. But at the moment, it seems, like we said before, Connor starting to close in slightly. I think he had a few laps of just being a bit wary, as he actually goes really deep, does Connor, into the final chicane. Doesn't want to be doing that quite often, or he's going to get pulled in by Jewelbury. But at the moment, it seems to me, as we see actually Cucumber on the back of Jewelbury, and will Jewelbury actually try and defend this one? It doesn't seem like he is doing, lets him through. And with that said, we've got a safety car out, and I believe actually Cucumber just got ahead of Jewelbury before that safety car came out. So let's see what these drivers do. I'm not sure what the safety car is for. Is there a Williams actually off towards the back? There is, of Crico, but Marty's out as well. Did Marty retire in the pit lane, or did he crash? I'm not too certain.
I would presume, given the timing, that Marty is the cause of the safety car. I'll admit I was looking down at the time. So Alp and everyone's coming in for fresh intermediates. That is fresh intermediates, not an imminent dry tyre running coming. No. Yeah, they're all in for instance. I'll be intrigued now. So if everyone comes in up front, I would presume that means we're in for rain for the long haul. If everyone stays out, then that would make me think there's some dry running coming, or possibly some heavier rain coming. But if everyone pits now, I think that's a surefire indicator that we may well end up getting some drying up at some point, which I think we'd like, because the race had just settled down a little too much for my liking. I like some spicy wheel to wheel. Let's see though. Let's keep an eye on what our leaders do, and if they don't come in, that's going to hand the real initiative to the back 6 cars: Alp, Matt 240, Ghost, Falcon, Verstappen, Pease, and Crico, who are all on fresh intermediates, which could hand them a fairly chunky advantage. And there are some quick guys in there. Alp's quick, Matt's quick, Verstappen's quick, Pease is good on his day as well. So I'll be intrigued to see. And then I'm going to invalidate myself now, because probably Justas, Montana, Sweet Crown are probably all about to come in to the pits.
Absolutely. One thing I will say as well, Connor and Cucumber are both in the Alpha Romeos. Let's see what they do, but they will have to stack if we're in the pits, which will mean Cucumber, as yes, Justas in, Montana in, Sweet Crown in. Let's see what Connor does. He's straight into the pit lane as well. Will the sister Alfa Romeo Cucumber? Yes, look at that. He's slowing the pack up because he knows he's going to have to queue in the pit lane if he doesn't. So he's doing the game there, making sure that he doesn't have to get in any way of his teammate as he goes through into the pit lane now. Let's see if he does actually have to stack there. Hopefully for his sake he doesn't, but he actually does slightly. That's going to cost him a bit of time. Possibly Jewelbury will get out ahead of him in the Haas. Let's see what happens here. Will he get overtaken by the Haas driver? No, he doesn't actually. They're actually in each other at the moment as well. It's a Kush as well, gets in the pit lane just out in time. But Cucumber played the game and he did it perfectly, because he is still ahead of them all. Look at the train coming out of the pit lane. He just managed to stay ahead of everyone.
I wonder if there's going to be a sneaky stewards report come in the way of Cucumber there for driving unnecessarily slowly into the pit lane, or in Lando Norris's words, unsportsmanlike behaviour. Because to me that's not on. Like, game's the game. You're going to end up having to queue behind your teammate. Tough luck. That's the way it goes. And I don't think it was fair for Cucumber to back off as much as he did. He would have been very unhappy if someone did it to him. So I'm not particularly impressed that he decided to do it to Jewelbury and Izat in particular. But so I hope, I hope that one of Jewelbury and Izat report that, because it's not something I particularly like to see as an organiser. But we've gone back to square one. Everyone's on brand new intermediates. Only Ghost Falcon has a penalty to his name, and everyone's back bunched together again. So we go again at the end of next lap. And is your opinion on how this race is going to go at all changed? since the start of the race.
At the moment, like we say, we think the rain's slowly stopping. I mean, it was a bit of a free pit stop for everyone there behind the safety car. Of course, with all the rear gunners kind of pitting, there was that massive amount of space for others to pit anyway. So there's still potential for this rain to stop and get some dry tyres on. Of course, we don't have the forecast, so we don't know what's going to happen. But yeah, in terms of that incident as well, of course, with Cucumber, yeah, I mean, we're all for racing, of course. We're all for, doing a few sneaky things, try and get up on your opponents. Absolutely borderline. I can understand if Joel Bream and Itsukush kind of get that as stewards report in there and try and see if they can get a penalty. But at the same time, I can also understand if it gets chucked out by the stewards and they don't decide to do anything with it. It's a bit of racing, but of course it is borderline, so I can see it going either way. But yeah, at the moment, Justas controlling the pace at the front. Of course, we'll see after this safety car comes in as well if the new tyres will benefit Montana at all, of course, if he has more pace on tyres that are fresher compared to Justas, who, of course, was doing well on a bit more worn tyres. Let's see. Could be said that both of them could just pull away, of course, on those fresh tyres from Sweet Crown, but with the grid being so bunched up again now, we could see Connor try and get a move on Sweet Crown, who was slightly pulling in towards the end of that stint before the safety car came out. We just don't know, do we? I'm excited to see what happens after the safety car pulls in.
Yeah, it's nice. It's effectively like the first 11 laps were a qualifying session, and now we've just got a new race, effectively, from the get-go. If Kriko manages to catch up to the back of the field, we will be going at the end of this lap, which will be lap 12, into 13. If he doesn't manage to catch up, we'll go for one more. I think he will, because he's rapidly closing up to Verstappen, and Pease has taken the opportunity to scrub the set of tyres that he was on and get a fresh set. So he's going to have the freshest possible tyres. I don't think it will convey too much of an advantage for him, but he's down in 16th. What's it going to do to him, really? What harm can it do him? He may as well take the fresh rubber. So Kriko and Pease will catch up before the end of this lap by the time we get to the end of the second sector. So we are going to go again this lap. And if you're Justas, where do you go? Do you go into the last chicane, or do you go on the exit of the last chicane? Where do you put the hammer down?
I mean, personally myself, I would wait as late as I possibly can. Reason being, of course, all it just means is that there's less options, less times where you can actually make a mistake, of course. Let's say it goes before the final chicane. The last chicane is going to be so treacherous on colder tyres, and it's going to mean that there's a potential opportunity for Montana, who will have the full straight to slipstream and pull through. So, yeah, I mean, personally, I wouldn't want to be in Justas' position deciding that right now. I can understand he'd probably be a bit worried as to where to go himself, but at the moment it doesn't seem like the safety car's going to... Yes, it is actually. It's just now decided that it's going to come in this lap. So yeah, let's see what Justas can do. He's going to have 16 drivers behind him wanting the position he's in. So he's a brave man to try and decide when to go. The safety car's coming into the pit lane now. He should be gone very soon.
As soon as the safety car hits the pit lane entry, the message at the top of his screen will change, and then it becomes his prerogative when he goes. He's not gone yet. I think he's going to go, as you say, nice and late. And he goes on the exit of turn 18. But Montana is stuck with him nicely. And they're going to run very close together across the line here. It's Justas leads away from Montana from Sweet Crown. Two Alfa Romeos looking very close towards turn 1. Is that going to be a potential move from Cucumber onto Connor? No, it's not. They stay as they were. Further back, though, Rocco's got Spine and then Campbell in very close company through turn 2. No mistakes, and this is a big opportunity for people like Alp and Campbell to get themselves really back into the race here for some really solid points, but there's going to be some overtaking they'll need to negotiate in order to get up, because there's no penalties. There's no penalties that look particularly forthcoming in this race so far, because in the wet you don't want to go anywhere near the curb, so they're going to have to hope for a shoddy exit or a mistake somewhere. And it looks like right now the two Alfa Romeos are the ones that are closest together, the ones possibly most likely to make a move. And Montana is going around the outside of Justas into the hairpin there. Can he catch the Alpine with a shoddy exit and get a nice run towards Spoon? He's going to use all of his errors. I think Campbell gets past Spine at the hairpin as well. And it's going to be side by side and contact between them. Montana has to get off the throttle. He's got enough of a gap to Sweet Crown. He won't be feeling too happy about that, Will Montana, but I think he stuck his nose into a gap there that was only ever going to disappear. He'll have another run now up the hill towards 130R.
It's not over yet, like you say, because he's going to have that run all the way towards 130R now. He's using all of the ERS he possibly can. He's closing in on the Alpine. He has to brake going through 130R, of course, to not get through. But will he try and dive it down the inside? He looks towards the inside. The Alpine goes defensive, but this is just going to mean that Montana has a brilliant run out of the corner towards turn 1 now. You don't know if you can actually get past here, depending on if he goes down towards the inside. But at the moment, it looks like Justas is going to have to go defensive. Montana going to try and round the outside, possibly. Yes, he is towards turn 1. Is he going to try and be able to go around there? It doesn't look like he's possibly going to do it. No, he doesn't. He goes switch towards the inside. But no contact. Good racing, but he keeps ahead Justas. But Montana is on the warpath.
He is indeed. He knows how important this 14-point swing could be come the end of the season. He can't afford Justas to get the win here because he probably knows on pure pace Justas is quicker than him on any given week. He was certainly quicker in qualifying. He was quicker last week. He was quicker in Australia. So Montana needs these points. He needs as big an advantage over Justas as he can so he can afford to slip up and give up more points later on in the season. And you have to say, though, Justas isn't tearing away from Sweet Crown, from Connor, from Cucumber right now. The top 5 are keeping it very concise here out on track. And Montana, is he going to have another go here? He's got a slight deficit in the ERS stakes to Justas, but not too much. And Sweet Crown, look at that, Sweet Crown's on 95%. He's keeping all of his goodies for later in the race, isn't he? And there's been no mistakes, no spins, no contact, no nothing.
Justas wide at Spoon.
And Justas wide at Spoon, and could give Montana the run that he needs to have a second go into the last chicane here.
Absolutely. Again, it seems like deja vu going towards 130R now, but like you say, Sweet Crown as well, he's going to use all his goods towards the end of the race. But at the moment, the front 2, they're giving it everything, all of the ERS, to see who can get in the lead and pull away from the rest of the pack. But Montana, he didn't get the best run himself out of Spoon, and that's meant that he's actually used some of his ERS, but not had the opportunity to get past Justas in the Alpine. Let's see if he can get an exit like he did last lap and actually get through, as Justas sets the fastest lap actually, so he's actually pulling away from Montana now. But like you said before, as we see the 2 Alfa Romeos starting to dance around as well in the background, and actually
here comes Rocco
in the background as well. Rocco around the outside of him. Can he get towards turn 1 around the outside? Possibly, if he does the brilliant move, and he actually has done around the outside. Incredible move from Rocco Reggie for wheeling the Red Bull. Brilliant move from him. Up another position, back into P8. Incredible. Let's see if we can see more overtakes from him throughout the race, because that was an incredible move into turn 1.
Prime Rocco Reggie for real. LOE D1 race merchant, racecraft there. He never the quickest in qualifying. He just drags the results out in the race. P5 in the standings last season. And he's having another solid one today as Ghost Falcon is out of the race. And that's another full safety car with 13 laps to go. Verstappen gets a penalty for colliding with Ghost Falcon, who is out of the race. So I wonder if contact brought that on. If Verstappen fancies coming into the pits this lap, serving that penalty, getting another fresh set of inters on, he'll only lose 1 place to Kripke, and then his penalty's out of the way if he can't get it removed. But, well, we go again.
Absolutely. I mean, it's fair that this, like we say, gives the drivers the opportunity to kind of relax, get your ERS back, get their mind back in the game. But yeah, some brilliant fighting we saw from Justas and Montana at the front there. A bit of contact. It seemed all fair from where I was sitting. But of course, I wasn't in the cockpit, so I don't know. But with that said as well, one thing I will say, look at Alp, still stuck in P12. You know, one of the drivers who was a whisker away from pole position, led the race in the early laps. He's not been able to get past these cars, so it just goes to show if they do make a move in this weather, they really have to do it with conviction. And some of the moves we've seen, especially from Rocco, like you say, absolutely incredible, worthy of overtake of the season already in only round 3. So yeah, I mean, let's get behind the safety car, let's get another restart done, and let's see who can pull off some more amazing overtakes.
Let's see indeed. Is anyone at the back going to come into the pits? Matt 240's in. Anyone else in? Verstappen is in. He's going to serve that penalty. Kripke's in as well. So it's just those 3 Ps took those fresh tyres at the end of the safety car period. So I don't think it's going to convey too much of an advantage for any of those guys, but you know, you're at the back, you may as well take it. Campbell's now edged back up to 10th place. He'll be hoping for a little bit more. Alp, you mentioned, still stuck in 12th. I can't see too much lateral movement, longitudinal movement, me trying to use big words, in the positions here between now and the end of the race, but we live to be surprised, don't we? It is the spice of life, is that the saying? And it's Montana, I think, is going to give it full beans again as soon as we get back underway to do what he nearly did to Justas first time round and make a move early on the Alpine. But he couldn't do it the first time. Do you think he can do it the second time around?
was very close, wasn't he? Almost went around the outside of turn one, and almost tried to go around the outside of Spoon as well, but obviously had to back out at the last minute. So, yeah, it very much depends really on the restart that Justas has, because it seemed like he didn't really get the bite off the last corner like he wanted to. Obviously, he left it really late. He'll have to now rethink that and see if he can actually change the way he restarts the race, or he might actually go for it again and try and perfect what he did. But yeah, Montana, it just, to be fair, at the moment, Montana seems, even though there's such fine margins, to be the slightly quicker driver in these conditions than Justas at the moment. Sweet Crown, of course, in the background as well, waiting for him to make a mistake. But it's such fine margins at the moment that it really could be between both of them. And surely, just from the first 3 races alone, we can see these two drivers are going to be fighting out the entire season to see who can be League of Europe Division 1 champion season 10. But yeah, one thing I want to look at as well, of course, is the two Alfa Romeos. They didn't actually start fighting themselves, but that's something that will be interesting to see, because Connor, of course, didn't have all the pace in the world for the first again. Actually, does he go into the pit lane? Oh no, he looked like he did actually. Sorry to get everyone excited there. Connor looked like he went into the pit lane. He didn't. But yeah, that's one thing I definitely want to look out for. The two Alfa Romeos, see who makes it on top out of them two, as we see P's going a bit as well.
Yeah, I don't see the point of this. Like, the Inters don't fall off that dramatically, to my knowledge. I don't see why you're going to burn them for the sake of them. Oh, okay, they've gone for dries. Okay, scratch what I said. Here we go. There's some dry weather coming. And, well, is it going to come soon enough for these guys? Yeah, it's about a 25-second pit lane loss, maybe a tiny bit less, like 22 seconds. So if they don't lose 22 seconds by the time the rain stops and the leaders come in for dry tyres, well, they'll be laughing.
Absolutely. I mean, looking at now, riding on board with RLP at the moment, it seems really treacherous, like he's actually made a mistake. But at the same time, obviously at the back of the field, himself and Kvyat Verstappen, they haven't really got anything to lose. So if it starts to dry up, like you say, kind of quite quickly, as we do know it does on this game, to be fair, before the safety car's in, Pease and Verstappen could find themselves 1-2 in this race. But at the moment, it does seem a bit too soon, as Pease kind of lackadaisically almost goes off at the end of the second Degner. Well, yeah, if it starts to dry up and they pull the field together before the safety car goes in, who knows what could happen? They possibly could be leading the race.
Yeah, these guys, Verstappen was maxing the rev limit and wheel spinning in fourth gear out of Degner 2. I'm not completely convinced this is the right strategy, but if they don't catch up to the safety car by the time it gets to the last chicane, it won't come in this lap. They can delay it a lap if Pease wants to be sneaky. If he doesn't catch up, it won't come in. If they it's marginal now. If they catch up now, it may just come in. I think they've saved themselves a lap. Yeah, they've just mistimed it, agonisingly so, and that's going to catch. It's going to catch Justas massively by surprise. He had a bit of a wheel spin as well. Montana's got a massive run here, but he couldn't get it down enough towards turn one and just didn't quite play it right. Do the two at the back as Montana tries around the outside of one. He'll look into two, but there's nothing he can do about that. Pease is already Verstappen losing so much time just out of the exit of turn 18. And I think the strategy has gone for them. But Montana so nearly capitalised on that mistake for Justas coming through turn 18, but not quite. And look at the two Alfa Romeos, so hungry on the back of Sweet Crown there through turn 7. And still, neither of them, like Montana, not quite able to make the move. But I think we are edging towards drying conditions, just not quick enough for Pease and Verstappen.
Absolutely. Let's see if Montana can actually try and get a move down the inside. He's actually get a 3-second time for it to push. If Montana trying to go down the inside, no, he doesn't. Thinks better of it, but absolutely. First, second, third, fourth, fifth line of Stern going through the hairpin there. And at the moment, I mean, that was so late in the day for the safety guard coming and caught everybody off guard, it seemed. But at the moment, Justas and Montana status quo at the front. Will Montana try and go down the inside towards Spoon? No, he doesn't. He's going to try and set himself up, I'm sure, going towards 130R at the moment, because Justas, just like last time, doesn't seem to have had the best restart. He needs to resettle himself down. But at the moment, Montana looks like the man who's on a mission to get this win.
He does, and he's very close to the back of Justas there, up to 130R. He just needs to absolutely attack, savage this last chicane. He's got ABS, as Montana. So in theory, should have a slight advantage there, but doesn't quite get it. A few corrections on the exit. He's now losing time onto the straight, and he'll have to just use his ERS just to keep up, as the two Alfa Romeos still continue to look like they're in the wrong order slightly in terms of pace, but there's no way through for Cucumber on the back of Connor. Verstappen's now 15.6 seconds off the back of Kriko and counting. You're already a pit stop off the lead, as Spine passes Alp there, or they're battling away into turns 4 and 5, and look at Alp, can he sweep around the outside of Spine here and up to the inside for turn 6, and instead Matt 240 nips through on Alp.
Great move, incredible move around the outside of his teammate there from Matt just before Dunlop curve, but of course this is going to be driving Alp crazy. One of the leaders earlier on, he's lost another position and he's going to be so frustrated on that helmet. Not only can he not get past Spine, he's just been overtaken and done by his teammate.
He has, and might Matt be fancying another move here? He goes up the inside and there's nearly contact. There is a little bit of contact there with Spine. As ahead of them, look at Mohammed and Campbell as well, drag racing towards Spoon. We've got 2-by-2 battles now. And let's look at Campbell and Mohammed first as we come towards Spoon. Campbell's got the inside line. Is Mohammed going to do his usual little Spoon dance and go deep? But no, he's not. Campbell holds off the move. Ahead, Spine is getting tagged not once and twice by Matt, who's got the inside line, but Spine will have a straighter run up the hill. That's ahead for now. Will it stay that way by the end of the straight as Spine will tuck into the slipstream of the McLaren? I think he's just about got this covered as the McLaren, and it's about how aggressive they are through 130R, and it looked like Matt was much more confident there. And in fact, Spine's having to defend from out now, goes around the outside of turn 16, switches the inside for 17. They're still dicing away, and Spine onto the grass, and through goes Alp, and through goes Kriko as well.
Incredible racing all around at the moment, but look at this, Matt got through on them all and now he's pulling away from him in the system. McLaren, let's see if Kriko, like you say, can go around the outside of Alp into turn 1. He tried to go around the outside, but he caught the curb and that unsettled the car. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to get through on the McLaren there, but at the moment it's some great racing throughout the field. Campbell and Mohammed as well having a bit of a ding dong there in 9th and 10th. Campbell coming out on top, but once again you'll start at the front as well, starting to find his pace once more after that safety car restart, and is now clearly pulling away from Montana, even though it might only be ever so slightly. But Sweet Crown as well, who's saved all his ERS, or more so than that of Montana, could potentially try and get a move on sooner rather than later.
Let's have a look further ahead where our battles are. I think our main battle actually is still Alp versus Kriko. Kriko, not content to sit behind the McLaren, who was leading the early stages of this race, was pushing him through the first sector there. And Sweet Crown is looking really in a good position here. He's got more ERS than Montana, more ERS than Justas. One mistake for Montana, though rare though those are, will invite the Red Bull in, as Cucumber 3/10 behind Connor now as we come up the hill. The Alfa Romeos not look well. I said it looks like they're in wrong order pace-wise, but Cucumber can't really do anything about Connor, which is a shame for him. But good to see that Connor's having a solid race here, as Verstappen has done an oopsie at the hairpin, while Matt 240 has sliced his way past Mohammed here for 10th place. Mohammed, I don't think he's going to settle for that, sorry. He's going to tuck back in the slipstream, ERS on. He's got a bit of an advantage as well, but he's not using his ERS actually. Had he put it on, Matt was derating away. I think he would have got that move done and retaken 10th place, but he was happy to settle for 11th, and I think he may have just lost his opportunity there, because Matt had used everything to get past, and Mohammed didn't want to try and fight back.
Of course, Matt with some amazing fuel.
And it stopped raining.
And it has, you're absolutely right, it stopped raining, so surely we're going to get some drivers on soft tyres towards the end of the race. It must be, absolutely, but at the same time, the question is now, is Matt actually else loses it? Yes, Matt in the McLaren, after some amazing few laps, actually loses it, loses the position to Mohammed, loses the position to his teammate and to Kriko, and we were just singing his praises, really commentators cursed him there. But Matt, I was just about to say how he'd done some brilliant moves,
and wide again.
Lose a position to the Aston Martin, and Matt, just like that, goes from 10th position down into 14th. And a horrible set of corners going through Dunlop. He lost the rear end, caught on the curb, almost hit the wall.
Just nipped on board with peas. It is still absolutely not dry conditions, even though it stopped raining. But it's going to be a bit of a dilemma now. If it dries off quickly, whether you make a pit stop or not is going to become a bit of an unknown quantity in terms of what the outcome's going to be. I'll tell you who looks good, though, right now. Sweet Crown 19, 3/10 behind Montana. Montana slipped back from Justas. It could have been a mistake that's narrowed those guys up as Kriko passes Alp. He does get past the McLaren. has got a run still back, and he looked left, he looked right, and in the end he had to concede and let that one go, although Cricker went a little bit deep into the chicane, turn 16, and Alp will do his best to get a run now as we come on to lap 22. And can he get a move done here? He's using all of his ERS. He's running out just at the wrong time. Crico defends the inside line. Alp's got nothing he can do there to swing around the outside. There's not enough grip out there, and he has to settle for 12th place. The fact that Alp could end up with just one measly point here is so devastating for him. I wonder if you might feel like, if you're in Alp's position, you're in Spine's position, stick a set of softs on and hope it's just the perfect lap for the change. We'll keep an eye on Pease and Verstappen and what they're able to do. But, you know, if you see a fastest lap pop up for RALPs, you know it's time to change. And he looks okay through 130R, you know. Looks okay. Let's have a look through the last chicane as well. Yeah, he's still very sluggish through there. No, not quite. I think we're still another lap or so away. But it's definitely, they're not as slow as they were, is all I'll say. But the track still looks very greasy, doesn't it?
Absolutely. One thing I will say as well, actually, with Montana, he's actually derating at the moment as well. He's got no ERS left. This is the moment for Sweet Crown to take his goodies that he's saved up and use them, but he's just not doing it at the moment because he's got 57% ERS left. If he wants to get past Montana, this is the moment to do it. He's going to have to start using that ERS and try and get around.
All the two Alfa Romeos.
The Alfa Romeos as well.
They look deceptively close.
Absolutely, they did look very close there, but actually, we actually see there, Cucumber gets a very good exit out of the final corner there. Will he actually try and go down the inside or around the outside of turn 1? We'll soon see that, of course, in the two Alfa Romeos, but at the moment, like I say, Sweet Crown, he needs to start using his ERS and try and get past Montana. Someone
needs to hop on to Sweet Crown's party and tell him, hello, get on the blower, Montana's on 0% ERS towards turn 1, this is your moment. Because Sweet Crown is just waiting and waiting and waiting, but he needs to... there's going to come a point where he needs to stop waiting and just go for it. And Pease and Verstappen are in a tricky spot here. Like safety car comes because they're going to get lapped within a lap or so. This is still not coming towards them as quickly as they need it to. Despite the fact we've got 16 cars running around, the track's not drying out quick enough. They're at 150 kph through the first part of Spoon for Pease. And I'll make a nice comparison now as Justas comes through to see where they're at. The two Alfa Romeos again breathlessly close into the hairpin, but let's see what Justas is through Spoon Part 1. So it was a 50 kph, 150 kph for Pease. Let's see what speed Justas carries, 180 kph. So yes, it's still nowhere near dry tyres, and yeah, with this, the dry tyres would need to be 7 seconds a lap quicker by the end of next lap to justify a pit stop. I don't think we're going to see anyone switch to dries here. Yeah, I think it's into running to the end, but look at Montana on 0% again into the last chicane this time. Sweet Crown needs to make the most of the advantage he's got in case Montana does decide to start saving.
Does, and one thing I will say as well, because of course it is wet conditions, everyone's rear light is flashing no matter what, so Sweet Crown's not going to have any idea. As you see, actually, the two Alfa Romeos actually in the background as well, starting to have a bit of a ding-dong. Cucumber trying to go around the outside of his teammate into turn 1. No, thinks better of it, tucks back towards the inside. But those two Alfa Romeos need to be careful because they've got a good haul of points in 4th and 5th at the moment. They don't want to cause any hassle for the team principal there and cause a crash between the two of them. But Sweet Crown, he needs to start moving on Montana, but he just doesn't know that they have no ERS there in front of him because, of course, everybody lights that flashing when it's wet weather, and because of that, Sweet Crown has no idea that Montana has nothing in the tank.
Yeah, he needs someone to tell him. He needs someone to hop on a stream, have a look, and get him parties. Montana has a big slide out of Degner 2. That's turn 9, but I don't think it cost him too much time. In fact, he's closed up a little bit to Justas. The two Alfa Romeos still look like our biggest source of entertainment here, and Campbell and Rocco as well are only a 10th part. And Campbell, is he going to have a look up the inside of Rocco? Rocco, he spooks the Red Bull into going a little bit deep, but Campbell doesn't have anything on exit. And instead, he's going to pop his ears on, have a run towards Spoon, but there's such a short breaker zone to Spoon. You need to be practically alongside or ahead to have a move. Campbell's going to try it, though. He's up the inside. Here we go. And again, he spooks Rocco into going deep. Rocco should have just covered that off nice and early, but instead, he's giving Campbell more than a margin here to get through. And we've got Sweet Crown very close to the back of Montana now, into the last chicane.
Absolutely, I mean, look at that, he's basically pushing the Aston Martin through the last chicane there, as like you said, the two Alfa Romeos still pushing and bunching and barging each way through. But yeah, at the moment, Sweetcrown is just not using the ERS at the right moment. This could be the possible moment, though. He's using absolutely everything. He's going to go try around the outside of the Aston Martin. Yes, he is. The Red Bull, can he make it stick around the outside? It will be a brilliant move if he can, and he does indeed. What a move from Sweetcrown. 2 Red Bull moves around the outside of turn 1. Incredible move around the 5 times champion of LOE. Sweetcrown in P2. Can he get after Justas now?
Let's see if he can get after Justas. I mean, he's got, again, an ERS advantage. If Sweetcrown's been saving any tyres, he may as well crack on now, as those soft runners are lapped. It's just not going to go to soft running at all, dry running at all here, as they're diving out of the way. And Sweetcrown, he's on a mission. He may as well go for this. He's got nothing to lose. Like, he doesn't look like he's going to be under any threat from Montana behind him. He may as well just crack on, push hard. But he's probably got a warning or 2 to spare as well if he does want to get racy. And why not? 2 laps to go, 2.5 laps to go. Let's see if we can get a battle for the win here. We've got a yellow flag. That is just our lapped runners. Is that there? Had a mistake or a lock-up or something into turn the hairpin. And he drops to P9. Is Campbell and Rocco side by side again towards Spoon. Here goes Campbell. And he still can't commit to an overtake there. And he'll settle for P8 once again behind the Red Bull.
Absolutely. And like you can see there, Montana, he was basically holding Sweetcrown, because look at that, Sweetcrown already 8/10 only behind that of Justas. He's already pulled a second to Montana, so Montana could, if he's not careful, fall into the clutches of the 2 Alfa Romeos. But it looks at the moment like Montana might just be keeping his pace in that area where he knows he'll be able to get that P3 and get another podium. But at the moment, Sweetcrown is the man to look out for, because he's pulling in. Yes, there's only 2 laps to go, but you never know. With the pressure that he's putting on Justas, he could potentially get a race victory here in the land of the rising sun. But at the moment, the 2 Alfa Romeos still fighting out as well, and looking behind that as well, Rocco as well, as he's in front, of course, of QBR Campbell now. But look at Campbell.
Oh, contact!
Push as well, a bit of contact.
Alp versus Cricco. Alp slamming into the back of Cricco into turn 1, and still can't make the move done for his troubles. Probably got some wing damage off that, I'll be tempted to say. But yeah, what you were saying, Sweetcrown, he looks good, he looks racy, he looks quick, and he looks quicker than Justas with a lap and a half to go.
Absolutely. It will definitely be a grandstand finish to this race. I mean, Justas seems to be just controlling the pace at the front, but Montana now also look at that. He's kind of falling into the clutches of the 2 Alfa Romeos, who really have got a lot of pace in this race. They're starting to close up to the back of Montana, who isn't falling away from Sweetcrown too much. If there was a few more laps, it looks to me like it would have gone to dry tyres. But at the moment, it doesn't seem like it definitely wouldn't be worth it now, of course, with only 1.5 laps to go. But yeah, like we said as well, we're looking a bit further back as well. We can see Rocco, obviously, with Campbell behind him, and it's a Cush too. That's some positions to be looking out for. But with 1 lap to go, Justas is in the lead, and looks like he should be able to hold Justas behind.
Oh,
that's a 3-second time penalty.
And he's going to walk away from Japan's Alp with no points. Started P2 on the grid, led early on, but he's going to come away with absolutely nothing here. With that penalty relegating him out of the top 12. In fact, the only person other than Izat with a penalty in the top 12. So, and with how close the field is, he's going to drop down to P14 with our soft runners very much up down. And it still doesn't look like he's got to dry conditions, has it? We're on to the last lap of the race now. It stopped raining about 5 or 6 laps ago. It still doesn't look like it's actually a dry track. So I don't think even now fresh softs would be quicker than intermediates. As Cricco passes Slash into turn 1, does he? No, and Slash is all the way up on the grass there. Cricco hits the back of him, and is Alp going to tuck through there? 3 wide, onto the grass goes Alp. They bang wheels again with the Ferrari. Spine's having a look at this, thinking, can he get through? He sneaks around the McLaren, and he takes P12. Mohammed's picked up a penalty as well. And with half a lap to go, the minor points placings changing hands rapidly. But for the major points placings, it looks like Justas, since that contact between himself, Alp and Montana, has had it firmly under control. It's been a superlative drive from the Alpine, as Alp has spun round at Degner too. And that puts the cherry on a miserable evening for him, doesn't it? You say. As a Spine now passes, or will out-drag possibly Mohammed towards Spooko. He's got the outside line, but it looked like he's carrying a bit more speed, and he's through. So let's nip back to our leader now, who's on the run towards his last triplet of corners here. Turns 16, 17 and 18. He's controlled this race since Alp's spin and he's going to take a brilliant victory. His Cucumber's past Connor into 130R on the last lap for P4, but it's going to be Justas 12 that takes the victory and closes the gap to Montana in the championship. Sweet Ground takes a fabulous second place. It's P3 for Montana. Cucumber and Connor. Connor was out of fuel. That's what happened there. Jules Bream doesn't manage to nab fifth on the line. Rocco takes a brilliant P7. Campbell's eighth. Is that ninth, but will drop with penalties. Cricco takes ninth in the end. Spine 10th. Is that 11th. Matt takes the final point, and then Mohammed with 13th. Alp is going to come home. We said a miserable 14th. And Pease and Verstappen are going to finish a lap down. Could one of them get fastest lap of the race on the last lap with some dry tyres? As Pease goes Tokyo drifting into turn 16. And it does look like the tyres are biting into the track a little bit more, but I don't think it ever got to dry conditions in the end. It was a gamble that may as well have taken, I suppose. And creeping across the line there are our last finishes. But that, for a full wet race, that was good entertainment. I enjoyed that.
Absolutely, it wasn't a bad race at all, to be fair. I think, yeah, like you said, Justas, he basically dominated, didn't he? Did everything he needed to do. Obviously, had a few sketchy restarts. Driver of the day, Rocco, comes up on my screen. I you know what? I definitely think Rocco was a brilliant choice for driver of the day. To be fair, of course, we'll have the poll go out later, I'm sure. But Rocco, yeah, I think definitely should be up there for the race that he had. But Justas, once again, shown the class that he has. He really kind of, put the field in its place today and really kind of thrown himself back towards the top of the championship, of course, when he had that terrible race in China in the end, even though he kind of dominated the first half of it. So I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he's going to be very close to Montana now at the top of the standings. So I'm sure the rest of this season is going to be just as close as today, as we see the podium celebrations going on now for the drivers. But yeah, incredible race from Justas, and of course at Sweet Crown as well, I must admit, a brilliant move around the outside of Montana. Yeah, Justas with the fastest lap as well. That's going to be 26 points, I believe, for himself. He's going to be right on the back of Montana now.
So with a race time of 48 minutes and 22.222 seconds, Justas, with all the twos, takes 6 points, as you say there, and beats out Sweet Crown by pretty much exactly a second. Montana third, him finishes where he started. Cucumber fourth, Connor fifth, Jules Bream sixth, Rocco seventh, up 9 places for him. Another solid race performance. Campbell eighth, finishes where he started, but had an eventful day, all things told. Cricco ninth. Spine 10th, he takes 3 points. 2 for Izzat, 1 for Matt 240, and then Mohammed, Alp, Verstappen and Pease all coming home empty-handed, and Falcon and Marty are 2 non-finishers and safety car causes, and no one in the top 10 getting penalties as well in the end in the order. So I don't think we'll see too many steward reports. Possibly one for the safety car slowing, whatever happened between Verstappen and Ghost Falcon to cause the safety car and a 5-second penalty for Verstappen. Something went on there. But otherwise, I think that was a very clean race. And we are going to end it there because, A, I can't be bothered with interviews, and B, I need to practice for D2. So, is there anything you want to say before we round off, my good man?
No, I mean, to be fair, I'm just excited for next week now. Every single week we seem to be getting brilliant races, so if we can keep them coming, it's going to be a brilliant battle for the championship. I believe there's actually only 1 point between Montana and Justas now, so it's poised very well for Portimao next week.
I think you are right. Montana with a 1-point lead over Justas, and as you say, we go to the Algarve, and then staying in the Iberian Peninsula, we head to Spain the week after that. Then it's Imola and Monza and Monaco, our next sequence of races, our next 5 races in LOE. I'm sure we should both be there next week, both of us. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk you through it, and tune in the next 20 minutes or so for Division 2 with NSX Montana and Funky Chicken 44. And for Division 4, it is QVR Verstappen, and I'm not sure who is alongside him, but do tune in, and we'll be here same time, same place next week for more Division 1 action as well. It has been a breathless, frenetic, frantic, and superlative season so far, with a title fight that's brewing to boot. We'll see you same time, same place next week. Adios.